David Pogue, this Grammy Sunday is on the musical hunt for a brand new sound.
The last new instrument to join the standard orchestra configuration was probably the vibraphone in the 1920s. Before that, maybe the tuba in the 1830s. But that doesn't mean musicians haven't kept inventing.
Each year, we invite people from around the world to submit their latest, greatest, craziest, most innovative new musical instruments.
Jason Freeman is a professor of music at Georgia Tech, which hosts the annual Guthman Musical Instrument Competition, which celebrated its 15th birthday last year.
And these are students and professors and artists and engineers, anyone else that's found some reason that all the musical instruments out there aren't really enough for them. A lot of what's in the competition is really coming from a single artist, a single musician who's trying to make that new sound.
New sounds like these. And again, it's not electronic.
No.
These are latex and air. It's called the Babel table. And according to inventor Jean-François Laporte, it's technically a wind instrument that uses compressed air.
One day I just put a balloon on a tube. It sounds great.
Cap Mustatea's team creates computer-generated singing with their dance movements. Here, it's the word alone.
I realized, you could put sensors on a dancer's body and that data could be anything, but could it be language?
I mean, imagine if this thing catches on and pretty soon you have combination aerobics choral practice. Anthony Dickens brought his circle guitar.
There's a motorized wheel that spins around and it strikes the strings. And so you can play with two hands. So you see how that's spinning.
Oh, man! Max Aday invented something called vocal chords.
There's 3 strings that are all conductive rubber cord stretch sensors. So as you pull on the strings, you can control how the voice is being processed.
That's cool. I wonder how much a Grammy weighs. Yeah. What about the pleasantness of the sound? Some of these things sound a little weird.
Many of them sound weird. We are very open-minded in the competition.
Do any of these things ever go on to a post-competition life?
Yes, they do.
For example, you may remember the tube-like contraption called a talk box, made famous by Peter Frampton in 1975.
Bosco.
In 2020, Bosco Conte won the contest with a smaller, more portable device.
You don't even need to know how to play.
Called the Electro Spit.
Electro Spit.
So that was not your voice?
No, I'm totally silent. So this sound is, you hear this buzz.
Yeah.
It goes through your neck and out of your mouth. So your mouth becomes a speaker.
So we came a long way.
Bosco brought his invention to market. He also returned to the Guthman competition as a judge. When people hear this is a new instrument competition,
Yes.
I think they think, it's going to be part of the standard orchestra. Could that ever happen?
Absolutely. Because this is exactly the path that each instrument that we use today took. And I'm sure there was an uproar about the piano at one time, and there's definitely an uproar about the electric guitar. All it takes is a hit record from one of these instruments, and they will become a part of our musical language forever.
Now, some of the entries may strike you as exotic, But at this point, Georgia Tech's Jason Freeman has seen it all.
We had a Jello piano, which was made out of Jello and circuits that you could play.
You're saying Jello,
Yes,
not
Jello.
cello.
Jello, like Jello, Jello.
At the closing concert of each Guthman competition, each finalist performs a duet with a traditional instrument. And then it's time to announce the winners.
It really shows what's possible when art and design and engineering and music all come together.
In second place, the Babel Table. And first place,
And finally, the first place prize goes to vocal cords.
And congratulations! New music is born!
Thank you so much. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you.
Over the years, we've profiled no small number of musicians and composers. But as Lee Cowan explains, none of them are quite like the young man you're about to meet.
We've heard it said, where words fail, music speaks. And you're about to meet someone who understands that sentiment better than most.
He has a whole world and a whole life within his brain that for him is completely normal.
20-year-old Jacob Rock is living with severe autism. He's among the roughly 30% of people on the spectrum who are unable to develop functional speech.
He says yes and eat.
That's it.
That's it.
He lives in Los Angeles with his father, Paul Rock, and his mom, Lisa Newman. She's a little camera shy, but they both say Jacob's frustration of being unable to communicate sometimes resulted in self-harm.
He would punch himself in the face. He's very forgiving, but he gets angry when people ignore him or people pretend he's a child. That's really gets him.
I mean, it's got to be lonely for him, but it's lonely for you too.
Yeah, well, you always wonder what's going on.
Speech and music therapists, neurologists, they all tried to unlock a way for Jacob to communicate. Now, typing was one way. For 7 long years, everyone, including his mom, who was a third-grade teacher, tried to help him use a keyboard.
There you go.
But Jacob's progress was slow. Some of his school teachers assumed it was because Jacob had a low IQ. But his dad, who worked from home, never believed that. They spent hours together watching Jeopardy! And he says Jacob always seemed to be absorbing it all. And then there was music.
He got a piano. He would play it all the time. Rudimentary. He doesn't actually play.
Paul, a music events producer, always had classic rock playing in the house. And for Jacob, the louder the better.
The whole autism trope of they hate loud noises is true probably for many kids, but not for him.
In 2020, smack in the middle of the pandemic, Paul began working almost every day on Jacob's typing skills. Now, for 16 years, everyone, including Paul, had been calling him Jake. But on this day, he surprised everyone by typing that he'd had enough.
He wanted to be called Jacob, not Jake.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
It was the first time he'd typed out a full sentence unprompted. By the time we showed up almost 2 years later, Jacob was pretty chatty.
I am calm, and I want to say that being the happy subject of this piece is very exciting.
He uses a text-to-speech app on an iPad.
I am so interested in going to the garage to see...
It's a form of augmentative alternative communication that allows him to type out words and sentences, which are then played back. He took us into his bedroom, full of musical instruments. And when we asked him to play something for us, he gave us a very teenage response.
I am damn great at this when no one is here, but I am nervous.
Jacob's ability to type was like water on fertile soil. He began communicating in ways even his dad wasn't really prepared for.
So he started typing poems. It was a very emotional poetry and very beautiful poetry and expressing his feeling that, this is my life.
And it turned out that life also had a secret soundtrack. 6 months after he started typing on that app, Jacob announced that he had a symphony in his head, a full 90-minute, 6-movement orchestral composition that he wanted to get out.
Damn calm when I have my symphony to listen to, because really the sounds of my brain are on the screen.
He called it Unforgettable Sunrise.
Why the title? That's his Unforgettable Sunrise, which is typing and expressing himself.
Jacob couldn't play music, he couldn't read music, he certainly couldn't score it. So how did something as complex as a multi-part symphony get from Jacob's brain to the page?
I thought, please don't ask me.
Why?
It was scary. It was an enormous task.
Rob Laufer, a musician and friend of the family, agreed to try.
It became clear that Jacob could not communicate actual notes to me, but he was hearing definite melodies and he could not communicate it.
Jacob would painstakingly type out detailed instructions for every measure, every movement.
G, O.
In the beginning, he wanted 5 piano bangs. How long? And he goes, well, the first one lasts for 5 seconds. The next one lasts for 10 seconds. And he just had it really clear in his head. I mean, like the seconds.
As for the notes themselves, Jacob would describe them in terms of an emotion or an image.
He wanted a 5-minute mountain of sadness. And I was like, yes, I can do that.
If anything, what his music communicates is that Jacob's inner life is often in turmoil.
He wanted the horns to come in really abrasive, but then they go to a uplifting, joyful, they fill the air with sweetness, but then it goes back and forth. Sweet. Chaotic. I wish we could hear what's in his head. This might be close, I don't know. Every time he made a change, it lifted the thing up and made all this sense. You know.
There's been a long debate about whether nonverbal people like Jacob are actually typing on their own or whether their communication is being facilitated by hopeful parents or caregivers.
Because there are a lot of people who discount the communication that goes on with the typing.
They think it's not real.
They think it's not real. And then he pulls out his index finger and he just types out each letter one at a time.
In fact, during our conversation, Jacob became visibly frustrated because he feared his typing wasn't clear enough.
I am angry that damn ability to type is not always as good as I want, yet I want to tell my story.
Oh, you're doing great.
After 2 years of composing and arranging, Jacob and Rob finally had the music down on paper. Through Paul's nonprofit, the Wild Honey Foundation, Paul raised $110,000 to bring it to life, including having the University of Southern California's 55-piece orchestra perform it. In the audience that night were others living with autism. One of them even wrote Jacob a fan letter. I also typed to communicate, it read. I enjoyed your show beyond words. They met, and Jacob now says he's composing a musical just for her. This one he's calling Happy Love.
I think most great creativity is by people who are marginalized and they feel that intensity.
That pain?
The pain, just a desire to create and express that pain. And I think when you can't speak, you've got that in spades.
He's been called one of the greatest violinists of his generation, but there's a lot more to his story. Dr. John LaPook introduces us to virtuoso Augustin Hadelich.
It's not every day you get to see an 18th century violin up close.
So 1744 is when it was made, so not quite 300 years.
That instrument is in the loving hands of Augustin Hadelich.
It's, I think, natural to feel like some affection to the, even though it's a piece of wood, that we feel this affection to our instrument.
In In the rarefied world of classical music, Hadelich stands out. At 39, he's a superstar soloist with the globetrotting itinerary and critical acclaim to prove it. The New Yorker magazine has called him an artist with no evident limitations. So central is the violin to his life that not playing it is not an option.
After a day or two or three, my fingers start twitching and I just have to play something and I feel much, much better. After more than 30 years of playing the violin, it almost becomes something that you need, you know? It's a dependence.
About how old were you when you completely fell in love with it?
Maybe I was 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old.
By then, he was a child prodigy, giving concerts in his native Tuscany. By 11, he was performing with orchestras. For him, it was just part of being a kid.
Your parents give you a violin, you're like, great, you know? You take lessons and you never really think about why do you play music? Why are you a musician? And I think I maybe tackled that question earlier than I would have otherwise.
Hadelich had to tackle that question at age 15 when a fire broke out on his family's farm. He suffered extensive burns, and his chances of survival were unclear.
It was really very, very serious. But once it looked like I would make it, then I started thinking a lot about, but I probably won't be able to play the violin and the piano anymore.
His right hand, the one that holds the bow, was burned, but he regained use of it through surgery and therapy. His left hand, crucial to any violinist, was somehow spared.
Looking back at it, did it give you a different relationship with music? Did it give you a different perspective?
Before this fire, I was a child. There wasn't the need to really answer tough questions about what music means to me. There wasn't no reason to ask myself that question. But then once if you realize you might lose it, that's I think when I realized how important it was to me.
Sitting just feet away as Augustin Hadelich breezes through Bach, you'll realize something too: the mysterious power of music to uplift and inspire.
Nobody knows exactly why we play music at all. You know, we get no evolutionary advantage from making music. For some reason, there's something that affects us very, very deeply and makes us feel things that are actually quite hard to put into words.
COVID hammered that home when this virtuoso accustomed to selling out concert halls serenaded social media audiences instead. He says the pandemic pause gave him a new appreciation for the joy of live music.
I think I cherish the moment on stage playing for audiences even more than before. There's a special feeling in the air and you somehow hear the music more and experience it more intensely. So yeah, I'm loving every moment of it.
Hello. Hi. What's happening?
I'm Jen, the principal. We've met before.
Hi, Jen, the principal.
Have you back home.
Good to see you.
Hello.
I'll give you a hug.
There you go. Welcome, Charlie.
I'm just giving hugs every day now. Let's go to the music room. I know there's two, but let's go to Wagner's first. It still smells the same. Oh my God, Charlie. What are you doing? What's happening? What's this? This is not real.
So you want to make sure that for the open tone, your fingers are together.
Hi. Hello. Whoa, don't knock me over. Hey, everybody. What are y'all doing? You good? What are y'all practicing right now? The bongo? Can I hear what y'all been doing, or is it like some sort of like exercise? If you like follow me, like I'm really a piano player. See, Farcell's got rhythm. You're teaching them well. Levis, you need to hop on the piano or something. Or no, I'm gonna. Oh my God, this is mine. You know what I wrote on this song? You know what I wrote on this piano? I wrote like the beginning of One Call Away on this piano. It used to be in E major. And it used to be faster, and then my friend was like, no, you should make it. That's my fake trumpet sound. Y'all want to sing it real quickly with me? Yeah. Okay. Ready? Do it with me. I'm only one call away. Levis is handling the rhythm. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. Y'all are good. I'm only one call away. You've improved since the years. Call me baby if you need a friend. I just wanna give you love. Come on, come on, come on. Reaching out to you, so take a chance. No matter where you go, Miss Wagner, you know you're not alone. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one. You were picking up. That's actually fantastic. Y'all are crazy. Wow. Give yourselves a round of applause. Wow. I appreciate all of you very much. Keep being motivated and just live life. And I promise you're going to get everything that you want out of this life. So, okay, we're going to look right at the principal's camera. 1, 2, 3. Nice job. Wow. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming.
My guy. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye. Enjoy lunch.
She was a prodigy, schooled by the great Rachmaninoff. Some compared her to Mozart. Now, at age 97, pianist Ruth Slenczynska has a new album and much to share with our Moraga.
I'm old.
You're experienced.
What a lovely word.
97-year-old concert pianist Ruth Slenczynska has been playing for the public for more years than a piano has keys. Where are you mentally during the recital?
I go to a place I can't take anybody. It's a place from where I get my music. I'm going to play for you Daisies.
And Ruth has been going to that place
I'm going to play a minuet in G major by Beethoven
since she was barely out of diapers. Here she is in 1930 at age 5. By then, Ruth was an old hand, hailed as one of the greatest child prodigies since Mozart. Born in Sacramento, she played her first concert when she was 4. She played Berlin at 6, Paris at 7, and along the way was mentored by some of the 20th century's greatest virtuosos, including Russian composer Sergei Rachmaninoff.
It's a Fabergé egg.
Ruth still wears the necklace Rachmaninoff gave her after she filled in for him at a concert when she was 9. You were called the miracle child.
Every child is a miracle, really.
But you were an awesomely talented one.
I wasn't. No. If I were talented, I wouldn't have had to work so hard.
Working hard is putting it lightly. From the age of 3, her Polish immigrant father, a violinist frustrated by his own limited success, forced Ruth to practice for 9 hours a day.
I would be practicing and hearing from the street my sister's calls as they were playing with other kids. I wanted to be one of those kids who played. And if I didn't practice, I was chased around the apartment with a stick. My father's magic stick. I didn't want that.
She quit performing at age 15 and later ran away from home. She got married, then divorced, and to make ends meet, started teaching before returning to the concert stage in her late 20s.
How did your relationship with playing change? Were you falling more in love with it?
Oh, it just grew. And I kept playing bigger and better and going to different parts of the world.
She began recording albums and appeared on TV. In 1963, she paid tribute to Rachmaninoff on CBS's Camera 3. Among her many fans, an American president with whom she once played a duet.
How was Harry Truman on the piano?
Good, really good, and he was so personable.
She says President Truman summoned her to the White House when she was in Washington for a concert.
The place was crowded with people. I thought he played very musically, and they all applauded, and he took a bow. Then these two men came and pulled me away, still flabbergasted halfway down the hall. I said, I didn't even get a picture of it.
Ruth later got this autograph, which she donated, along with other memorabilia, to Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, where she served as artist in residence and met James Kerr, the love of her life.
How much did your life change when you met your second husband?
Well, it changed completely. I became a real person. I'd marry him again, all over again.
They were married for 34 years before his death in 2001. They had no children, but Ruth's legacy lives on through her students, including Shelley Moorman Stallman, a professional musician and teacher in her own right.
What has Ruth taught you about teaching?
It's important to impart upon young students and students of all ages this sense of being a part of the past. They're larger than themselves.
Ruth is more than a teacher. She's become family and lives with Shelley and her husband Randy near Hershey, Pennsylvania.
She believes that you don't look back, you gain from the past, but you're always looking forward. And I think that was her secret to success in so many ways.
Which explains her new album. With My Life in Music, Ruth brings fresh perspective to favorite compositions from Bach to Barber. Back at home, Ruth Slenczynska regaled me live with a favorite encore of hers. Chopin's Waltz in C-sharp minor.
Are you more in connection with the inside now when you play than you've ever been before?
Well, I certainly can say more because I've experienced more than I did when I was young. A person 60 years old has experienced a lot of living, and a person 20 years old has not.
And a person 97 years old.
There you are.
Brava.
Seeing the statues on Easter Island is something many travelers hope to do someday. Hearing an island song by one of its celebrated residents is what Kelafasane can offer us right now.
Concert pianist Mahani Teave has traveled the world.
But Rapa Nui, sometimes known as Easter Island, is her home.
Rapa Nui, that's what we call ourselves here also. That's our people, the Rapa Nui people.
It's a triangle-shaped island about the size of Washington, D.C., but way out in the South Pacific. And it's best known for these statues, called moai. Scholars think they were built to honor the island's elders.
Our ancestors were all voyagers, and maybe that's what's in my blood too, this coming and going.
In the 1700s, Dutch explorers came to Rapa Nui. They landed on Easter, so they called it Easter Island.
Easter Island, that's the English name.
Miki Makihara, a linguistic anthropologist at Queens College in New York, has been studying Rapa Nui culture for 30 years. We're talking about a place that's only been inhabited by humans for maybe 1,000 years.
That is true, right, but a lot has happened.
In the late 19th century, slave raiders from Peru abducted about half the island's population and left behind smallpox, which killed many of the remaining islanders. Only 111 Rapa Nui survived. Nowadays, Rapa Nui is part of Chile, which is the closest mainland, 2,000 miles away.
It's a remarkable history of survival and reconstruction.
Those 111 people kept the language alive and transmitted it to the next generation.
Yeah.
It's a comeback story.
Yes. Yeah.
We descend from those 111.
Mahane Teave was born in Hawaii to an American mother. But her father is from Rapa Nui, and she spent most of her childhood there.
I feel like so strongly about the island, and here are my roots. This is where I learned all my first everything.
She still remembers the day she heard that someone had brought something new onto the island, a piano.
We gotta go see that piano, let's go see. So we get to the lady's house and she opens the door. Please, can I go touch your piano? And I don't think she even got a chance to answer. And then after that, I was like, please, please, I want piano lessons.
There were no piano teachers on the island, so Teave asked the woman who owned the piano to give her lessons.
She got a piece of paper out, she drew some lines, and said, these are the notes, go home and learn them. I memorized what each little thing and each little line and space meant. And after a few days, she said, you know what, you can start coming to practice at my house.
In 1992, Teave's family moved to Chile, where she could study at a conservatory. She was 9. Was that a scary time for you?
It was just a very confusing time. And at the same time, there's this possibility to be able to continue with, wonderful music.
When she was 19, she left Chile to continue her studies, first in Cleveland, then Berlin. Soon, she was a celebrated concert pianist.
I would feel soaked with so many wonderful things, going to amazing concerts and interacting with incredible musicians.
Did you always know you wanted to come back to Rapa Nui at some point?
Well, I always felt the connection to the island. What about the children? They don't have any chance to study, and who's ever going to do anything about it?
Teave returned to Rapa Nui a decade ago, and in 2014, she built the island's first music school.
A totally self-sustainable structure built.
Last year, it was featured in the documentary Song of Rapa Nui.
We wanted to make an inspiring place, like a message of hope.
The school was constructed using an abundant, unnatural resource, trash.
We are in a garbage vortex. So, garbage from all over the world comes through the currents of the Pacific.
This school, built from garbage, is all about transformation. Are you hoping to find the next great concert pianist on Rapa Nui?
The children have the possibility to develop their talents, but I really think it's important that they cultivate the values, the virtues that are learned when you learn an instrument. You learn perseverance, you learn about teamwork, respect.
Before the pandemic, some people on Rapa Nui were concerned that tourism was damaging the island. Now, Mahane Teave says she's optimistic about the day when visitors can come back.
It's something that needs to find the harmony, because the way it was happening was not harmonious. either to the island, to the people, to the nature. Give them an actual experience of what it really is to be here.
And maybe a concert.
Maybe a concert, but we need a concert piano, so.
This is a request from Rapa Nui, is less garbage, more grand pianos.
Exactly, more grand piano.
The Rio Grande separates Mexico and Texas, but one kind of music brings them together. Mexican-born, and now American-made, mariachi. And on this stage, mariachi became even more a part of Texas. This was the first ever state-sanctioned high school mariachi competition.
Yo quiero luz de luna.
Showstoppers like 10th grader Brisa Davila.
Para cantar divina la ilusión que me trajiste.
Does it help that sharing this culture lets more Americans be exposed to this at a time when people don't seem to be that happy about Mexico?
Yes, it helps. Because at the end of the day, we're all immigrants. We all came from a different place into this land, wanting to be independent. So, I mean, sharing that culture is beautiful to me.
Mariachi started in the late 1800s when Mexican musicians adapted European instruments like the violin and guitar. The popularity of trumpets, say some, may have come from American jazz. And the accordion, yes, some bands use one, was probably borrowed from German immigrants who came to Texas. It might have stayed just strolling musicians at Mexican restaurants. But along came Linda Ronstadt. Whose 1987 album of songs she heard her Mexican father sing was a smash, and mariachi went mainstream. On the weekend of the competition,
Viva Mexico! Viva America!
the students were from rural counties and big cities. 70 bands came to Edinburgh in South Texas. Each band gets time to warm up lips and fingers. Then hurry to their 15 minutes of fame on stage. The costume designs date back to the Spanish conquistadors. The girls can take an hour or more on makeup. So senior Jocelyn Gayoso comes out looking like this and ready to perform. She plays the harp for Edinburgh North High School. Mariachi is the music of her family going generations back. She now sings with her grandfather.
I can see how proud he is to see that we're embracing our Hispanic culture and we're not just putting it aside. I can feel my grandpa and the way he loves the music and how much he embraces it. And I like to do that too. I want to pour out to people how much love and all the different emotions that come with it, and just pour it out to the people.
Don't try to say so metric. Cuando suena el mariachi, el mundo canta, something, no sé, right?
The students also come here to learn from professionals like Jimmy Cuellar.
1, 2. Very nice. I'm amazed at such a young age they can sing a song about heartbreak and being broken up and losing a loved one But they're 15, 16, 17 years old.
They would give you an argument on that.
I'm pretty sure.
This event means mariachi is now the equal of high school orchestra or choir, says Bradley Kent, who runs state music competitions.
Many of these students grew up in their families hearing this music, singing this music, and so I think that now we have an event that celebrates the genre.
America's high school.
The competition ended with the awarding of medals and plaques to be proudly displayed at schools across Texas. Edinburgh was among the winners, a valuable lesson for all the students that hours, days, even years of practice really do pay off.
I felt very honored and proud once again. I mean, many groups that went that day didn't get the ones, and we did. We put the time. It was like, yes, we did it.
Olé!
Music is often described as the universal language, a language that even the most unlikely seeming performers can master if given the right instruments. Tracy Smith has proof.
Toby, read that last sentence again.
All right. Toby was very reclusive. He liked to be by himself.
In his own world.
Yes.
Toby Lakes has autism, and he's blind in one eye. His dad, Carl Olufemi, figured he would always struggle to communicate. But a few years ago, something changed.
It was the time he came back home and he was talking about his music. So I like Mr. Goldberg a lot. He's our music teacher.
Okay. Mr. Goldberg is Adam Goldberg.
You hear how I'm accenting the first one?
A classical pianist who teaches music at PS 177 in Queens, New York.
We do music as a feeling, okay? It's not just playing notes. That's
like Toby, all of the students in this school have serious learning disabilities. And for most of his 20-plus years teaching here, Goldberg struggled to break through.
A lack of ability even just to be able to sustain a beat. Motor skill issues where they can't really hold an instrument.
He was stumped until a friend suggested an instrument that almost anyone can play, an iPad. The strum of a guitar string, the press of a synthesizer key. Now all done on a screen, thanks to hundreds of music apps.
The first thing I noticed was that there would be focus.
Just to focus was a major achievement.
Yes, absolutely. 1, 2, ready, and.
So Goldberg applied for a grant to buy 8 iPads and used them to form the PS 177 iPad Band. Was there a moment when you realized this is working?
Oh yeah, pretty much right away. I already kind of knew that even if it wasn't as awesome as I had hoped in my head, that it was still going to be really good. My students kind of surpassed my version of awesomeness into something even beyond that. Good.
When I saw them interact with each other, I said, oh, wow, it's more than just the music.
Kathy Poza is the school principal.
The social skills they've gotten out of it is unbelievable. Their self-esteem has risen to a new height. They hold their heads up high.
The iPad was that window in?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. In fact, one of them never spoke before, and the iPad has produced speech now from him.
Jason?
I am.
How old are you,
20 years old.
That's Jason Houghton, who didn't talk before joining the band. He now sings the lead solo in a song he helped write called Being Me.
One of his speech teachers she heard him sing Being Me, and she came to me and said, how did he do that? He can't talk. How does he sing like that?
Truth is, music has helped each of them discover their voice.
How does it make you feel getting up there?
It feels great, like I'm a rock star.
Then there's Toby.
We are phenomenal, talented, and we play beautifully.
First time, we couldn't believe what we saw. To see him on that stage with his band, playing and really enjoying himself, yeah, we cried, but cried of joy.
Were you surprised when you heard about the success of PS 177's iPad band?
No, not at all. I think it makes perfect sense.
Purdue University professor Oliver Wendt specializes in speech therapy for children with autism and other disabilities. He's conducting a study on how iPads and other tablet computers might help them communicate.
For a lot of kids with intellectual disabilities, especially autism, hearing things is more difficult than seeing things?
Yes. The visual format and structure of the iPad makes it much easier for the child to focus in on what you want to teach or what you want to communicate, because that visual representation stays there for as long as their brains need to process and add meaning to that particular stimuli.
I hit the ice.
David Bowden didn't speak from ages 2 to 8, but with the help of the iPad, he's talking now. A lot.
Oh, boy.
Diane and Steve Bowden are his parents.
When he was 4, 5, 6 years old, I never thought I would ever say, David, would you just be quiet? But now, he sings, he's laughing, and there's times I'm like, shh. Never thought that I would have that day.
Try again, and 1.
The PS 177 band practiced all semester to get ready for their first chance to go on the road and showcase their newfound skills for the Department of Education in Washington, D.C.
You talk about how proud they are of themselves. How proud are you of them?
Oh, I don't know. I have to take a break now because I'm going to get emotional. I've seen how far they've come. I see what's in their heart, Musically speaking, I see what's there, and I can hear it.
And we'll ring the bells when you come back. Gonna beat the drums when you come back home. Gonna ring the bells when you come back.
Everyone here got a star turn.
Shining bright inside of me. There's a light you may not see.
And Toby Lakes brought down the house with his part in Nessun Dorma. Now, Toby's parents see a future they'd never even dared to dream.
Now, I feel Toby can independently live on his own.
Did you think that before?
No. We believe we had to be there for him forever. But now, we don't have that belief. We believe that Toby can actually go out and have a real life, a good life.
We are incredible. Yes, we did it. We made it. We've been working very hard since the beginning of the year, and we got it.
Behold, the Lord Norton Stradivarius, widely considered to be the last violin ever made by the great Antonio Stradivari, who died in 1737. He was the master of musical string theory. No one has ever done it better. Here's Dean Reynolds.
Listen to the violin. As the sound wafts across Lake Austin, deep in the heart of Texas, it is so much more than a mere meeting of bow and string. there's a kind of physiological chain reaction that starts in your ears, sends shivers down your spine, and tickles your toes. Especially when it is the work of master musician and concert violinist Anne Akiko Myers.
Each violin, to me, is like a different living soul. They each have their own personalities, and you're instilling your personality into this piece of wood that is very much alive.
And this isn't just any violin.
We're right in front of the most expensive violin in the world.
Yes.
You say that almost mournfully, like, oh, shucks.
Well, I mean, it's not in a museum. It's incredible that it's in front of us.
This is a $16 million Del Gesù, an instrument made in 1741 by a man named Guarneri del Gesù in the small Italian town of Cremona. He was a luthier. That's what they call someone who works on stringed instruments. But he wasn't the only luthier in Cremona. Antonio Stradivari was perfecting his violins there at the same time. Myers has a Stradivarius, too, made in 1730 and once belonging to the King of Spain.
So you're feeling vibes from 300 years ago?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 273 to be exact.
The unwavering design of the instrument, especially its arched shape and the thickness of the wood, are what give a violin its sound.
It's mind-boggling to think that 18 inches of wood, made in 1700, can produce such an incredible, glorious sound.
How long does it take you to turn out a violin?
About 80 hours, maybe 100.
Michael Darnton's violins are brand new, built in his shop in Chicago's Loop. Violin making, he says, still follows the 18th century master plan.
This is the form that Stradivari made violins on. This is the form that I make violins on.
Stefan Hirsch is Darnton's partner.
They're just incredibly efficient little amplifiers. And this, a little box like this, as light as it is, and I mean, it's really doesn't weigh much at all. It can fill the 3,000-seat hall with sound, and everybody in the room can hear it. They all have been modified for modern use.
Really?
Yes. Not in any way that's essential to the design of the box, but in the way that the strings are strung over the box.
Well, wait, how do you, am I the only one who's surprised to hear that? How do you modify a work of art?
Very carefully.
The funny thing, though, is that while the Del Gesù and Stradivarius violins are still considered the best ever made, a recent test of blindfolded violinists found they had a hard time distinguishing old from new. In fact, a tested Stradivarius was the least preferred, while a brand new violin was top-rated. But it's doubtful a new violin would have caused the same kind of sensation that the Lipinski Stradivarius did when it was stolen in an armed robbery in Milwaukee last year. Edward Flynn is the chief of police.
Was your first instinct to say something like, quick, get our violin task force on this?
My first instinct was, oh my God, a Stradivarius.
Made in 1715, this Stradivarius is worth $5 to $6 million, and it was taken from Frank Almond, concertmaster for the Milwaukee Symphony.
The only thing I can compare it to is maybe watching one of your children get kidnapped or something.
Police recovered the violin from two suspects in a matter of days.
What is so great about a Stradivarius?
Well, you know, to us, that's sort of like, what's so great about the Mona Lisa? Why can't anybody paint the Mona Lisa anymore? I spend a lot of time with this. More time with this probably than anyone or anything else in my life.
Do you talk to it?
No, I don't go that far.
We don't know if Anne Akiko Myers talks to her violins, but they certainly speak to her and to us.
It's got major kick, and it's ballsy, and it's gutsy, and it's dark, and it has just a whole range of color that I can explore. And so it makes me freer as a musician.
Songwriter John Sebastian has always written on the guitar.
Sometimes does it start with a melody?
Certainly. For example, here's a melody that I didn't write that my partner in the Spoonful, Steve Boone, came and he said, here's what I got.
Wow.
I said, it's done. Yeah, and then all you had to do was that, you didn't have to be so nice. I would have liked you anyway. If you had just looked once or twice.
It's nice when it's that simple, isn't it?
It's so nice. It's so straightforward.
Sebastian, who started as a folk singer in Greenwich Village, co-founded the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, the Lovin' Spoonful, before launching a solo career.
What does your guitar mean to you?
You know, it's like a pet. It's like a really good dog. You really don't want bad things to happen to it. You got it.
The instrument he's playing is his signature Martin. He helped design the guitar for the company, picking out the Hawaiian koa wood with which it's made.
But it's a little sharper, its definition. It's a little brighter. I asked for a crescent moon, which is, for me, a kind of a symbol of Mississippi John Hurt, who was very much my mentor in Greenwich Village.
It also has an inlaid Lovin' Spoonful logo, and inside, a tie-dyed Sebastian at Woodstock.
What is it about Martin guitars?
They've had input from so many generations of musicians. The instruments, to my ear, they just keep getting better.
Martin may be the most coveted acoustic guitar on the planet. Elvis and Johnny Cash played them. Bob Dylan plays a Martin, so do John Mayer and Sting. Based in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Martins have been made in America for more than 180 years. The company's been family-owned for 6 generations.
My running joke is, and I mean no disrespect, thank goodness I wasn't born into the world's most famous accordion-making family.
CEO Chris Martin is the great-great-great-grandson of the founder.
This is the point at which we fit the neck with the compound dovetail joint into the body. And a lot of players think that this compound dovetail, because of the secure way that it binds the neck and body together, enhances the sound.
You've been doing it this way for how long?
Since 1833.
That's when Christian Frederick Martin started the company in New York City. This week, 22 of his early models will go on exhibit at the Metropolitan Museum in New York.
And that's the largest exhibit of his work that's ever been put together to see, so it's very exciting.
Curator Jason Kerr-Dobney says C.F. Martin, a German immigrant, began by making Viennese-style guitars.
One of the iconic things is that scroll headstock.
But once here, he was introduced to the Spanish style.
The body shape changes, the waist is higher, the bridge is different.
So those two styles together then influence this style?
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's exactly what happened. He combined the two.
Does Martin then effectively create the American guitar?
I think in a way that could be argued. He's practically the first maker of consequence here, and he comes up with this style that definitely influenced everyone else. So you could say his is the roots of the American guitar.
This one, the oldest known existing Martin, dates from 1834.
What do you hear when you play this?
Ooh, I just hear this mellowness, and there is this aspect of age. You can hear that this wood has been doing this job for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. The exhibition includes one relatively modern Martin.
There's no probably more iconic guitar than the one that Eric Clapton used on MTV's Unplugged. This gorgeous instrument, it's a vintage guitar from 1939.
Yeah, 1939,
yeah. The series MTV Unplugged is credited with launching a resurgence in acoustic guitar sales in the late 1980s that has yet to wane.
And every strum improves the instrument.
Mm-hmm. John Sebastian, now 69, has had a lifelong love affair with his guitar.
I'm still thinking about you when you're not under my hands. It's so quiet without you. I'm only most of a man.
Sometimes the song comes from the guitar. Sometimes the song is about the guitar.
With the strings of your heart.
I'm just so drawn to it. It's like when I get up every day, I just have to play my harp. I love it.
For 13-year-old Kim Walker and her fellow members of Atlanta's Urban Youth Harp Ensemble, this 47-stringed instrument with its heavenly sound transports them from the challenges of urban life to the satisfaction of mastering this most difficult of instruments.
Is playing the harp cool at all?
Yes.
It is. She says, with great passion, it is. Why is it cool to play the harp?
Because there's not a lot of kids that play the harp. You have your trumpets and your flautists and the run-of-the-mill percussionists, but who can say, oh, I play the harp?
I would think in an urban environment, harp is a hard sell.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought that at first, but when I walked in, there were kids just loving it. You just forgot. So after the A.
Carolyn Lund is the artistic director and full-time harp instructor for the program.
What draws people to it is that it's just so rare and so unique. And you know, these kids, they want to stand out. They want to make a name for themselves. So they come and try their hand at it.
Over the ensemble's 12-year history,
Good.
450 students have tried their hands at the harp, an instrument that dates back to ancient Mesopotamia, now modern-day Iraq, and ranges in price from several $1,000s to upwards of $100,000. The ensemble is the brainchild of Elizabeth Remy Johnson, principal harpist of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, and Rosalind Lewis, a longtime public school music teacher.
Describe for me your average student. What kind of kids are these?
We have low income. We do have students who are not now, not all of them.
We do have some homeschool students in our program, and many of our students are from single-parent homes or grandparent homes.
The harps are donated and the lessons are free to any interested student. Donovan Howard has been playing the harp for 3 years and says the ensemble is shaking up the perception of the typical harpist.
What's the reaction when you walk in for an audition?
A lot of people aren't expecting, first of all, a male, and then when they see an African-American male, sometimes they're a little bit hesitant, but I think that we're breaking barriers.
And for some, the harp has changed lives in profound ways. Meet Desmond Johnson, whom founder Rosalind Lewis calls one of her miracle children.
I met Desmond here at this school, and Desmond would walk by the harp room, and he couldn't walk by without coming in to sit down and play the harp.
So this is the neighborhood you grew up in?
Yes, sir.
Raised by his grandmother, Johnson admits he wasn't the best academically, and harp class was initially a hard sell.
When I got in, it was blah. You know, I'm a young man. I'm not really interested in playing the harp because it's kind of girly. So when I first saw it, I didn't want anything to do with it.
But the harp won him over.
What has the harp done for you think, for your life?
It's responsible for me going to college, especially.
The first in his family to go to college, Johnson is now a junior at Georgia State University on scholarship, with his eyes on a master's degree in music. It's a path forged by Mason Morton, one of the Urban Youth Harp Ensemble's very first students. Morton earned his master's degree in harp performance from Boston University and is now teaching middle schoolers.
Do you see yourself in your students?
It's scary how much I do.
Explain.
Majority of my students are African American. They're about 12 years old, don't know how to read music. They're starting late just like me. And maybe if you don't have the extra dollars to do other things just like I did.
What are the lessons you hope to teach your students?
To not give up. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do something. And I'd say to build your own self-esteem.
Instilled through music and taken to heart by students and teachers alike.
That's what this program is. It's real stuff. It's real life. It really helps these kids.
Changes their lives, you think?
It really does. We have so many stories of kids who weren't sure what they were going to do after high school, and I think that they come to this program and it just kind of makes them feel like they're not alone.
Who knew a harp could do all that?
Yeah, I just think it's a magical instrument. I really do.
Pat Conti is a common man with an uncommon passion for music. Not just any music. Pat likes the kind most people have either forgotten about or never heard in the first place.
The thrust of my interest is primarily before World War II. That's a magical kind of era from the 1920s and 1930s. Drop down, baby, just like showers of rain. I hate to hear my fair brown call my name.
He is not a professional musician. His guitar cost him $15 at a flea market. Pat's studio is a slightly battered Ford Crown Victoria. His car is where he retreats on lunch break from his real job as a postal worker. For 20 years, Pat has worked as a mail handler, loading and unloading mail trucks.
It's nonstop work, and it's something I like. The day passes quick if you're concentrated on the work, and it frees my mind to think about the more creative things, the dreamy things.
Pat doesn't mind the work because it is the more creative things, the dreamy things, that he lives for. You see, Pat Conti has a secret. Even his co-workers aren't aware that Pat has turned his passion into something remarkable. He's put together his own personal museum of music, a secret museum. And it's hidden here on a typical suburban street somewhere on Long Island. A street coincidentally named Harmony Drive.
So this is the site of the museum.
Well, this is it. This is just the vestibule. You can leave a donation on the end table.
In fact,
You have to pass through the living room and kitchen of his mother's house to get there, but it's worth the trip.
This is the secret museum. Well, it used to be a secret, but it's still a museum. Just watch a step here a little bit as we...
My goodness.
Get past the vintage dehumidifier.
You're going to have to tell me what some of these
Oh,
things are.
yeah.
Look at all these different...
Pat's basement looks like a one-man Smithsonian exhibit. He has collected hundreds of exotic instruments from around the world.
This one is from Damascus. It's the predecessor to the lute. Al-oud is the Egyptian word for it. Here's a cute banjo made out of a cigar box. And it works.
Photos and artifacts of musicians from other cultures. Unlike other museums, visitors are encouraged to touch.
This is a very unusual instrument from the turn of the century, the dulciola. It's actually half a piano and half a zither. Well, you're one of about 20 people who have played a dulciola. Yeah.
There's something fascinating in every corner, but the heart and soul of the museum are the records.
I've categorized them as best I could. This is all African and Asian section. This is the Middle East, the Levant, and there's everything here from the very earliest recordings from places like Bahrain and Palestine.
Pat has acquired more than 10,000 rare and unusual recordings from the most remote corners of the world. Everything from Macedonian string music to Mongolian throat music.
Two voices from one throat.
It's the same note, but
one fundamental note, one harmonic, way above it.
Diphonic is what you call it?
Diphonic singing.
He started collecting ethnic records in his teens after his grandmother gave him a recording of Italian folk music. Though he could not understand the words, Pat was hooked on traditional music.
Would you describe yourself as a musicologist?
I would say an amateur musicologist, sure. I'm not trained in that at all, but my heart is there, yeah.
He found the perfect name for his collection when he came across a book in a used bookstore.
Secret Museum of Mankind. That does have a kind of a ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure does. Over here,
His taste in music is eclectic, but Pat can find something for everyone.
And this is a record that was made in the 1930s, and it comes from South Africa. These are Zulu musicians, and the performer is called Solomon Linda and his Evening Songbirds. And this is a song you know. It's called Imbube, the Zulu word for lion. There's the lion. And that's the lion that we all know.
The lion sleeps tonight.
Exactly.
It's not a museum in the traditional sense, and it's not open to the public. And that is where Richard Nevins comes in.
We hit it off right away because we had the same kind of orientation towards the records and the music, which was, wow.
Richard Nevins is a record producer who met Pat through a close-knit circle of collectors. His company, Yazoo Records, had been putting out traditional American music for years.
We said, well, gosh, we should do the same thing for ethnic music from around the world from the 1920s and 30s and share that with people the same way we've been sharing the American stuff. And that's how it came about.
What came about is this, a 5-CD collection of the Secret Museum's greatest hits.
Hey, Peter? I'm going to take a look on the porch. All right?
Pat still scours thrift shops and flea markets, an archaeologist digging for gold.
The platter itself, the actual item, is a window. It's the window pane. On the other side is, another time and place. It's been impressed in these grooves, and for most of its life it just remains silent on a shelf or in a garbage can or in an attic somewhere. Once the needle drops again, the time window is opened up again, and you're able to peer in.
A window to the past opened thanks to Pat Conti, a common man with an uncommon passion for music.